Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Emmy. This is day 9 of the 12 days of Yule. If you're jumping in now, the 12 days of Yule is my daily practice during the winter time, end of the year, where I think about what feels aspirational for the new year, what I may want to continue doing, work that I began doing in this current year, and bring to the next. What maybe I want to come to a close, come to a culmination, wrap up so that in the coming days, weeks, months ahead in the new year, allow for new opportunities to come in. I do have this done in a very structured way where instead of being very singular in what I may want to have be a resolution, I think about it more holistically. Life is more than one thing, so it's very important for me to look at all areas and think about the different ways that I could move things forward in some way or another, whether it's continuing, coming to an end, or beginning something entirely new. If you want to follow along, if you're not a witch, that's perfectly fine. You can treat this more like an end-of-year journaling exercise. Treat these like prompts to think about how last year went and what you may want to do differently. If you are a practicing witch, you can follow along, do it in real time. You can save it for all one day, do it all on New Year's Day, and then feel like, okay, I'm gonna knock them all out at once. You could also treat this like a little bit of magical pre-work, where you can evaluate how things have gone, look at the astrology, figure out where things are impacting your chart, and then think ahead for what I may want to do around a certain lunation, equinox, solstice, whatever it might be. With this being day 9 of the 12 days of Yule, with us following the 12 house system of astrology, the 9th day is a 9th house day. So the 9th house in astrology is all about travel, education, publishing, religion, astrology, philosophy, and the higher mind kind of things, and the law. I said the law in a very aggressive way. But the 9th house, we're now at that point where we're able to see how things are opposite each other, if they either echo each other or are vastly different. It's really great to see how these things might be interacting. The 3rd house is more so about the more local, like your daily habits, your daily commute, more local travel, things that you're learning in more of an ambient way. 9th house is about depth. It's about institutions. It's about these bigger things, higher learning that comes with it too. College, university, transitions, initiations like a priestess program. When Uranus was in my 9th house, I missed it honestly. I felt so deeply compelled to begin so many different things around that type of learning, that type of education. I wanted to go and pursue. I felt very drawn to priestess work, but not in a self kind of claiming way, so much as wanting to learn the nuances. What does it mean to be a priestess of a particular reconstructed religion? What does that even mean? What could it look like? What feels right? What doesn't? So we're really thinking about depth, about going big with the 9th house. With the 9th house, we have longer distance journeys, seeking out adventures, having roaming mindset, having that spirit and drive to just pick up and go and leave the country. A lot of us want to leave the country, regardless of 9th house, whatnot. I wonder why. Traditionally, this is also an area of scholarship. We were talking about scholarship from the standpoint with the 8th house around getting the money. The scholarship we're talking about in this context is about the pursuit of that knowledge, about the act of learning, of challenging yourself, of research, and treating that as about praxis. It's not just a matter of reading something and then calling it done. It's about reading something and then living it out, making it something that you're truly immersed in. There is something deeply hermetic in a sense about the 9th house. The 9th house, a Sagittarius house. Hence the pursuit, the wanting to travel, the wandering spirit energy, the desire to go back to school to get a degree just to get a degree. I'm so tempted to get another degree all the time. I have my Mars in the 9th house and you could feel it, you could tell. The 9th house is so much about being philosophical, about being somebody who is learning and then applying the knowledge. It is a priest kind of position as well. It is somebody who is not just curious about the overall study of astrology from like, oh, I'm going to learn kind of It's about going deep. And you could leverage 9th house energy as a way to allow for that depth to take root. So then if there is like a few things that you kind of want to learn, but you don't want to go and be a professional astrologer, that's perfectly fine. I think the ninth house can also be definitely this element of pursuing higher learning and bigger truths as a way to help inform you and your own sense of self-knowledge about who am I in the context of this greater macrocosm. There's a cortado in my Santa today. As always, consider your own ninth house placement and if there's anything going on there already. If you have any oppositions, if you have anything that is currently transiting your ninth house or anything that'll be coming down the pipeline, especially if you feel particularly drawn to something, like you're drawn to learning something or to applying knowledge in a particular way, and you're like, where did that even come from? That can be a really good starting point for evaluating, why do I suddenly have a drive to go back to school? Why do I suddenly want to just immerse myself in books all over again? Get lost in the stacks. I will have us jump right into the questions because I think that can also be so deeply illuminating about what is the core of the ninth house and how we may want to develop around ninth house themes in 2026. The time to renew your passport. The time to get a passport, period. What places and spaces ignited your curiosity when you were a kid, or even if a place that you've heard of for the first time recently is conjuring that same sensation, that same innate feeling of wonder. What is that? And what can you do to get yourself to the other side of that? Are there legal things you have to sort out with your business? Maybe legally forming it if you've been neglecting that or putting it off. Maybe it's a matter of getting trusts, deeds, putting your will in writing. That's a good bit of continuity from the eighth house day that we just had, reflecting on our wants and needs, and then ultimately we have to actually make it concrete. What topics have you been feeling called to study again at a higher level? What topics did you feel called to studying when you were younger, but were told that it was not useful enough? I studied psychology because I was told that it would be the helpful, useful thing to do. And I still wanted to graduate on time. I was able to tack on an anthropology minor. If you look at the grades, if you look at the side by side, and even when I reflect on my drive, my interest, I did very bare minimum. I did very okay at the psychology part of my undergraduate studies. And then when it came to anthropology, my minor, the lesser quote unquote thing, on paper at least, I got almost all A's. I think I got maybe one B minus, but otherwise I did quite well in that area. I felt passionate. I felt alive. It felt important and significant. And I was met with, well, it's not going to pay the bills. I also felt that with the classics. Even back then, I was deeply interested. I liked reading Homer. I liked to read about the Romans, the Greeks. It's always been something that made me feel deeply alive to learn about. What is something that you've had to sacrifice in the past that made you feel deeply alive? Is there a way to bring that back up to the surface and breathe some life back into it? Pursue it again. Is it time to challenge yourself, to put yourself out there? Is it time to pitch ideas, query a book that you want to publish? Is it time to self-publish because you know it's better to go off on your own? I know that everybody has Substack and that feels so contrived. But you don't have to go on there. A lot of people are going from Substack to Patreon because there's a free membership option. You could have it and charge people $1 for your scholarship, for what you're sharing out. You could utilize any of these platforms, really. Publishing ideas could also be video essays as well. What in you needs to be synthesized, shared out, moved forward, put out in order to move thought forward. Generally speaking, this would also be a great area to petition Hermes for support. These are all very, very hermetic things, very mercurial. If there is a subject that you're wanting to write about, speak to, etc., that are more aligned with other entities, then it could be a matter of petitioning other gods as well. If your work that you're feeling called to publishing is related to your upbringing, then you could also consider devoting it to ancestors, asking for their support in the long-term success of your project. Going back to my anthropology minor, it required a capstone project, and I landed on mine being about education and attitudes around contraceptive use in Puerto Rico with Puerto Rican women. And that was an area where I was already forewarned that there was nothing in the journals about this kind of thing, minimal things published around. And I just felt very drawn to doing it for my people. A lot of my scholarship at the time, and a little bit now, was inspired by pure spite that I was told, oh, you might have a hard time being able to get this off the ground, actually executing it. And I'm like, me and my people are going to figure it out. And now that you said maybe I shouldn't do it, I'm going to do it so much harder. So that didn't stop me at all. I was given that hard truth, but I did feel so deeply supported by the energy I was receiving from ancestry, from even the pure knowledge, if we think about it from a more intellectual standpoint, the reality of all these women that were lied to about reproductive health, who were lied to by gynecologists and surgeons. So consider where you could draw on ancestry, on lineage, on a sense of greater good for allowing yourself to put yourself out there, whether it comes to publishing or the research or some mixture of the two. What has been your past history with religion? Do you come bearing religious trauma? Were you raised Christian, Jewish, interfaith community, or with no religion at all? Were you raised culturally of a background without much emphasis on having to believe in God? Are you an astro girly? Have you been enjoying this format because it's been making you feel affirmed? You're learning about the houses, certain placements. Has it felt good to have more of a neutral perspective on the whole thing? Is it time to learn more about your chart? Are you feeling called to even developing relationship with the celestial bodies, following what's happening throughout the year, maybe living a more astrological life as a practitioner? I do recommend, if you're curious about getting into astrology more, get readings from a few different people, from different readers. They're all going to teach you something a little bit differently than the other. Like, I have a different approach than my colleague Angelica Crashi, who does more mythic astrology. She'll blend sidereal and also has the glamour magic slant and is different from my good friend Lily Hussey. She will do general astrology readings, she'll do things around the transits, and she has this amazing astro marketing magnum opus. It's so elite. So I do think that you should get different perspectives to help inform you, and you can see what resonates and what doesn't. Is it time to engage in more challenging material? Existentialism, Hermetic principles, reading the 3 books of occult philosophy by our good friend Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. It can be frustrating, it can be daunting potentially, because the language may feel dense or it may feel like it doesn't make sense to us, but it may make us question what is truth, what is universal truth, and does it impact our sense of truth? But that could be exciting, that could be challenging in a good way, and that can really help you transcend into the new era that you've been waiting for. That's all for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being curious cats with me. I want to take a moment to thank my patrons who sponsor this video. I want to offer a very special thank you to Georgia, Karina, Jess, Laura, the Wowels, and Mallow. Thank you all for being patrons. I hope that if you've been enjoying this series I've been sharing with you all, that you may join any of the tiers. I greatly appreciate the support. And I hope that I will see some of you for tomorrow for day 10 of the 12 days of Yule. Bye for now.